All right, my friends, before we dive deep into the mire of history, steel, and gunpowder, do me a favor. If you're interested in weapons, history, or just stories with character, hit that subscribe button and the bell. That's my signal that the work is worthwhile. And at the end of this video, the most important part will be your opinion. Comment, argue, add your thoughts. Without you, this story is just dry facts. But with you, it becomes a conversation. Let's get started. In the history of weapons, as in life, it's often not the fanciest, most elegant, or deadliest that wins. It's the one that's simpler, cheaper, and can be produced in vast numbers, piled up in heaps. Today, we're not talking about a masterpiece, but a workhorse. Not a racehorse, but a draft horse. The submachine gun soldiers nicknamed the grease gun, officially the M3. In the minds of those who held it, the grease gun, its story is one of brilliant economy, wartime pragmatism, and compromise. Sheer compromise. To understand why this tin can was even needed, we have to travel back to the end of 1941. The world was already ablaze. After Pearl Harbor, the U.S. was truly in the war. And an unpleasant truth emerged. The American infantry, especially those slated to land in Europe and storm Pacific islands, desperately needed compact automatic weapons for close-quarters combat. And what was in the arsenal? The legendary Tommy gun, the Thompson submachine gun. The Thompson was status. It was gangster shootouts. It was beautiful, solid, with a wooden stock and a receiver mill from solid steel. But it had two huge problems. First, the price. $225 apiece. A colossal sum for the time. Imagine the cost of a good car back then. Now, imagine you need to equip hundreds of thousands, millions of soldiers with this car. The second problem was manufacturing complexity. The Thompson required a lot of time, many skilled machinists, and extensive precision machining. War isn't about fine finishes. War is about quantity. They needed a weapon that could be stamped out like tin cans. Literally. And here, the stage is taken not by a lone genius gunsmith, but by a corporation, General Motors. Yes, the very one that made Chevrolets and Buicks. They were told, "You folks know how to run assembly lines. Make us a submachine gun. Cheap, very cheap, and simple as a hammer." And they did. The mastermind behind the project was George Hyde, an American of German descent. The irony, a man with German roots creating a weapon against Nazi Germany. And he applied the approach not of a gunsmith, but of a manufacturing engineer. He took the principle of simple blowback operation, the simplest for automatic firearms. And the body, he proposed making it not by milling, but by cold stamping two halves and then welding them together. This was a revolution. Imagine, instead of slowly machining hard steel, one press stamp. Bang! Half a receiver done. The first prototype was shown in December 1942. It looked odd, like a machinery grease gun or a car exhaust silencer. A cylinder, a pistol grip, a wire stock. Zero aesthetics. But the Army, upon closer inspection, said, "Well, it works. And it costs." Oh, that was the magic. Only about $20 a piece. Compare Thompson, $225, grease gun, $20. A difference of more than tenfold. In December 1942, it was adopted as the M3. Now, let's take this piece of iron apart. What's inside? Genius simplicity. The operation works on simple blowback. You fire. The powder gases push the cartridge case. The case pushes the massive bolt backward. It compresses two springs, ejects the spent case, and then, driven by those same springs, flies forward, picks up a new round from the magazine, and chambers it. The bolt in its fully forward position is the lock, by its mass and the spring pressure. No rotation, no locking lugs, no complex mechanisms. The barrel was removable, threaded, held by a simple latch. Why? For easy replacement if overheated or damaged. Or to convert the weapon for a different cartridge. Yes, that was a clever idea. We're supplying the grease gun to Europe, and our allies there have a sea of 9x19mm Luger ammo. No problem. Unscrew the 11.5mm barrel. That's .45 ACP. Screw in a new 9mm one. swap the bolt, change the magazine adapter, and you're done. There was even a special, silent version in 9mm with an integrated suppressor. They made about 1,000 of those for commandos, and they didn't even put serial numbers on them. Total secrecy. The sights were a separate masterpiece of minimalism. A fixed front sight and a diopter rear sight, a peephole with zero adjustments. The designers operated on simple logic. This is a weapon for shooting at ranges up to 1 or 200 meters, most often in bursts from the hip. This isn't for precision sniper work. The goal is to lay down a dense curtain of fire. And the magazine, a box magazine holding 30 rounds. And here was one of the grease gun's main headaches. This magazine was unreliable. The feed lips, the edges holding the rounds, could bend, causing jams and misfeeds. Soldiers didn't love it. In a later M3A1 model, they even added a special bracket on the stock to help with loading the magazine. The rounds fit in very tightly. Now, about how this weapon lived in the ranks. The nickname Grease Gun stuck instantly. The shape was a perfect match, but there was a second, lesser-known one, Meat Chopper. Why? In the initial M3 model, there was a small charging handle on the side. To cock it, you had to rotate it. The motion resembled turning a meat grinder handle. They later abandoned this handle. It broke. In the M3A1 modification, they just made a large recess in the bolt. Stick your finger, better too, as it hurt, and pull back. Primitive? Yes. Genius? In its simplicity, absolutely. But there was a real grease gun. Inside the pistol grip lay a small oiler container for lubrication. Because the grease gun was, forgive me, a real dirty girl. Its mechanism, for all its simplicity, was terrified of sand, dust, grit. Without constant lubrication, it quickly became finicky. In this oiler, it often leaked. Picture a soldier in a trench, his hands, face, uniform smeared with oil from his own weapon. Quite the romance. So, what was it like to fight with the grease gun? Reviews were mixed. Those accustomed to the solid, powerful, well-shooting Thompson looked down on this tin can. The Tommy gun was more accurate, more reliable, if cleaned. It had excellent 20 or 30-round drum magazines. It was a point of pride. The grease gun was tolerated, but it had its undeniable advantage. It existed. There were many of them. It armed truck drivers, artillery crews, tank crews, second echelon troops, military police. It was compact with its folded wire stock, which, by the way, was uncomfortable and sat poorly in the shoulder. You wouldn't hesitate to throw it, lose it, or dirty it. It was a tool, a hammer in the vast arsenal of war. And here we come to the core philosophy of this weapon. The M3 grease gun is the embodiment of total war. Not a war of lone heroes with unique weapons, but a war of millions, a war of economies. The United States, the arsenal of democracy, showed its trump card here. Not artistry, but industry. The ability to stamp out 700,000 units of anything, as long as it shoots and helps achieve victory. This is a weapon of logistics, not a dueling weapon. It served through World War II, Korea, and even saw action in Vietnam. Tankers liked it. Sticking a compact cylinder out of a hatch was convenient. It served in the U.S. military all the way into the 1990s. You could see it in the hands of guards on air bases during the Gulf War. Imagine a weapon designed to fight Nazis, still on duty half a century later. And the Thompson? It remained the favorite. The grease gun never truly replaced it as initially planned. They complemented each other. One as a quality, reliable tool for the front lines. The other as a mass-produced, cheap artifact for everyone else. And there's a deep truth in that. The best doesn't always win. Often, what wins is what's good enough, but available in unlimited quantities. That's the story. A story not about beauty, but about utility. Not about the power of a single shot, but about the strength of the assembly line. The M3 grease gun, submachine gun, is a monument to engineering thought aimed not at perfection, but at results. At victory, at any cost. And first and foremost, the cost of simplicity. Now, as promised, the most important part, your opinion. What matters more to you in a weapon? Brilliant engineering and individuality, like the Thompson's, or soulless but effective mass production, like the grease guns? Could soldiers trust their lives to this tin can? Write in the comments, let's discuss. If stories about the essence of things like this interest you, support the channel with a subscription and a like. It truly matters for growth. Every one of your comments is a new topic for conversation. Thanks for being with me today. Until next time, in the world of steel and history,